Today is part 2 of the interview with David Padilla, owner of Ink Cow Prints. Today's topic is creating emotional links with your brand, something many food truck owners simply just don't do. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. Today's podcast is sponsored by Table Needs. And if you're looking for a game changer for your food truck business, look no further than Table Needs. It is the ultimate package, a killer point-of-sale system, QR code menu ordering, KDS, and automated sales tax. Plus, they offer business services like marketing and bookkeeping. They're not only just another vendor, they're a business partner. Check them out at tableneeds.com or find them on Facebook.
One of the things that we do here is like logo decals, and they're really not expensive comparatively. Because like most people, they go wrap, they think wrap, which I highly recommend a wrap if you can afford it. But you're talking $5 to $12K.
Yep, to get a good one for sure.
Yeah, and to get a logo decal, you can get started there. You don't have to invest that much. You can get a 3-foot one, I think is $100, and I would recommend a 4-foot just because they're bigger.
Yep.
But that's under $150, and that's shipped. That's real helpful for anybody like looking to get started for not a lot of money. And even though I do a lot of branding, I also do a lot of small business. And I understand that there's places where you need to spend your money that is not always going to be in just your visual appearance. There's a lot of things that you pay for.
When we're talking about the practical things as well, you mentioned the logo, and then the logo needs to also scale. It needs to not only, be the 4-foot size, but it also needs to look good when it gets down to business card size.
Yes.
And some logos are so busy, I don't see how they look in a small environment.
I think you can bend that a little bit in food trucks. Yes, I do think that logos need to be identifiable from far away, but only certain parts really need to be visible far away. You need to know your cuisine. Your cuisine is more important than your name.
Yep.
Like really, it needs to say Jim's Pizza on there. And I need to have some sort of image that identifies pizza on there. And that's what I need to see. You can get busier and you can add some stuff in there and make it more illustrative because it is 4 foot. And if somebody walks up, it does give somebody something interesting to look at as they get further up. It kind of reveals the detail as you go in there. So I'm not against that. That's probably me just being an illustrator. But those key elements, your cuisine, your name, and whatever iconography you're using does need to be identifiable from a thumbnail point. Like you should be able to see that. And if you put it on your truck and you walk backwards and just see how long it takes before you can see it, it should still be visible when you put your thumb up in front of your eye next to your truck. And it should be about that size. You should still be able to kind of identify what you're looking at.
That's an interesting take on that. I've never heard that before. So that's good information for people to know. One of the things that you brought up was Jim's Pizza, just as an example. And this really goes into marketing. A lot of people struggle naming their own business. They want to have that perfect cutesy name, whatever it is that they think is cute. One of the things that I've discovered through psychological marketing is when people attach a name to something, it makes it more personal. And that becomes really important when we're talking about food. You think about Wendy's, Wendy's hamburgers. McDonald's is still a name, even though a lot of people don't associate that with being a name. It is a name. When it gives it that personal touch, and then you put, again, Wendy's official name is Wendy's Old Fashioned Hamburgers. So there's everything in, the official name of the business, a person and the food. You mentioned Jim's Pizza, a person and pizza. It makes it more personal. As far as a business goes, we want to be personal because hospitality industry, we got to be friendly. We got to be outgoing. And the very first thing, like you mentioned, there's a name of a person associated with food. That's a great detail a lot of people overlook. You mentioned meat puns earlier when we were talking about barbecue. It doesn't have to be clever. It just has to be memorable.
Yes. There's a few angles here that I can touch on. Okay. So when you were mentioning using the name and that being more personal, absolutely. That is a way for you to personalize this cuisine that you're talking about.
Right.
This is your style. This is the food truck industry, which is really built off of its owner to chef to person. It's a very short gap here.
Yes.
And this is what these people are looking for. So personalizing in that way is a good option. However, you can actually go the other way and try to make it more, I don't want to say corporate, but more, do the avatar like we were talking about. You can make it more avatar based, and you're not necessarily relying on the humanity of something, but you are relying on something. And food trucks, I find, have a very interesting position where they can be more unique than any other industry food wise. Like there's just no one, you just can't.
Right.
It has a much lower overhead, so you can do much weirder things.
Mm-hmm.
You can appeal to a much more specific audience, and that's why I like food trucks, and I eat from food trucks a lot too.
Me too.
It's fun.
It is. It absolutely is. You bring up a really good point about food truck having that ability to be a little bit more creative. What we don't want to get into as food truck owners is creating food that people could duplicate for themselves at home, because we do have limited equipment. So we can only do so much, on a food truck. And a lot of our equipment is going to be just like the equipment that people have at home. Of course, it's bigger and commercial, but it's still, most everybody has an electric skillet at home. So there's a flat top. Most everybody has some type of crock pot. So there's a steam table. So our food's gotta really stand on its own and be something that people would not jam together at home. Like macaroni and cheese goes on top of everything right now. It's real popular to just stick it where it doesn't belong. And, we certainly need to ride that fad because it's stuff that people would not do at home, but they'll certainly go out and buy it and try it one time.
Around here, one thing that's gotten really popular is the Padilla. They're like it's like a fried pulled meat taco dipped in a consomme. Mm-hmm. Real popular around here. And it's been kind of doing its own thing. Because I've seen it go from, oh, this is a brand new thing. Everybody has it. Now it's how to make it at home. We've hit this loop. And now I've seen stuff like, well, it's Padilla ramen. You get a ramen cup and you get your 2 tacos.
Yep.
And, it's starting to get like weird, but that's great. And like these ideas are things that I would have never come up with. And like that novelty in itself is one of the values that food trucks can have. They can change their menu, in a couple days.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it creates that statement of that uniqueness. We talked about putting a name with the cuisine, Jim's Pizza. This is Jim's take on pizza. You talk about those tacos. You're right. Within the last couple of years, they have gone full circle. Now everybody's got, on a YouTube channel, here's how you can make it at home. And that should be a signal to food truck owners that, it's getting to be too commonplace now for the average person. So how are we going to take it one notch up? You talked about the ramen and all that. And that's what food trucks are able to do quicker than certainly any corporate restaurant. Because a corporate restaurant, it takes months for them to have an idea and then turn it into something that's going to be on the table. By then, sometimes the fad's already gone. And by the time they get the food out, no one cares.
Yeah, with the food trucks, they can just make it once. Go, hey, this is pretty good. And then it's on the menu the next day.
Absolutely. There's been a lot of inspiration I've gotten in the past where someone comes in and says, hey, can you take this element from this item and this element from this other item and put them together for me? And of course, I say, absolutely, I can do it. I'll figure out how to ring it up. We don't have to worry about that. I'll figure out how to do it. But then after they leave, and I go, well, that's a good idea. Why didn't I think of that? So it ends up on the menu the next day because this is a great idea. But if we were in corporate world, it would be 2 months down the road before we could do that or more.
You'd have to have training, standard operating procedures, and all these things.
Yep, absolutely. Or why don't I get
That's actually why I like the small business. Is that ability to implement creative ideas very quickly and to just, if they don't work, they don't work. That's fine.
Yeah. Like and it can go away just as quick as it started and no one knows.
Exactly. And you got a +1 for learning something.
Exactly. When you're talking about just the branding in general, brands create a feeling, if it's a good brand. What are some of the things that you would recommend to people to kind of create that emotional connection to the food? Is there anything that comes off the top of your head?
Yeah. So color is probably the biggest factor. You really should only have like 5 colors tops, ideally 2 to 3. Those colors that you pick, and we're not even just talking about the rainbow. You can have any number of colors. You can go into our tertiaries, so instead of green, you have teal.
Right.
And so you have those in-between colors. And then you have the ability to make it darker or lighter. All of those variables do change how something is perceived. Something that you hear about or may have heard about is red, yellow, and green tend to be associated with food. And, that makes perfect sense. Our food is red, yellow, and green, for the most part. Those used in their primary sense, without not any darker, not any lighter, just like pure color tone, like you would see on a rainbow, really commonly used. They are efficient, but you're also looking like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something to consider. Red and yellow is McDonald's.
Yep.
Red and white is Wendy's. We got what Carl's Jr. is red and yellow.
Yep.
Jack in the Box is red and white.
Typically, the green goes with people that feature salads and vegetables and that kind of thing.
But that variation of green can be changed. So even if you were to use a primary green, that might come off as cute and playful. If you were to use a pastel green, that's going to come off as more subdued. If you go with something a little bit more like an olive green, something that's a little bit more muted, you're going to have more of a natural appeal. And so whenever you're picking your colors, you can play with those different color palettes. There's a website I like to recommend. It's Coolers. It's COOLERS.io, I believe. I'll double check that real quick. And it's a color palette generator. And so if you're ever stuck and you don't know what to do, it's a good way to just it's Coolers, COOL.co. COOLORS.co.
Okay.
It's a free website, and you can it's kind of like a slot machine,
right?
And you can just generate color palettes. So if you're stuck and you don't know what to do, or you go, this doesn't quite work, but I like this one color, you can lock in a color, and then you can just start hitting the button. I use this all the time, and it's just a good way to kind of get exposed to colors that you're not accustomed to, and you can think about how does this make you feel as you look at it.
That's an important question. How does it make you feel?
Everybody interprets things a little differently. Perception is reality, of whatever way you want to interpret it. It is what it is. All cultures have the same reference to the same thing. The colors are different. They make different people feel different ways, but it's about that target audience that we talked about in the very beginning. How does that target audience perceive that picture, to perceive those colors? Chances are that ideal audience is going to be similar to you. Not exactly you, but they'll be similar to you. They'll probably like these sort of things if you like these sort of things. So that's going to be your best indicator.
Tomorrow we flip marketing on its ear, and we're going to tell you a little secret. Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow, because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.